In this screencast, we're going to discuss how to customize Matlab figures. There are two ways to customize. One is to use Matlab's interactive menus, and the other is through the use of graphics handles. Basically, we can make all the changes programmatically. In other words, we can use MATLAB code to make changes in figures, and this is the preferable way to create figures. So let's go back to an earlier example of a graph. So we had some data x and y. I'll paste some code to set up a very basic MATLAB plot. So let's run this code, and we're back to this earlier figure. One way to edit MATLAB figures is to use interactive menus. So if you go to the figure menu, this will look a little bit different on your MATLAB session, but there's an arrow here called Edit Plot. So if we click on this, and now we can bring up a menu. So I'll bring this menu into view here, where you can click on different aspects of the MATLAB figure. So here I've clicked on the axis window, and MATLAB brings up this menu called the Property Inspector. So you can make all kinds of changes to the MATLAB figure. For example, we can change the font to Arial, or let's say Arial Narrow, and there's a whole bunch of fonts you can choose here. You can, let's say, add a grid to the axes, and you can click on other aspects of the figure. For example, you can click on a particular line and then maybe make the lines a bit thicker. So let's say that I want to change this line width to 1.5 to make it more visible, and I can do the same thing for the other line. So basically, through these menus you can customize a lot of different aspects of the MATLAB figure. So now there's a different way to make changes to MATLAB figures by using graphics handles and to make changes programmatically. So let's get rid of this property inspector, and let's say that we rerun the code again to make sure we get back to the original figure. And now we can make some changes to these lines. What I'm doing here is I assign the result of this plot command to what's known as a graphics handle. A graphics handle is a variable that stores all the information about that plot in this variable h1 for this plot and variable h2 for this plot. So let's run this again. So not much has changed, but now we have the graphics handle h1 and h2 in memory. So what does that look like? So we can go to the command window and type in h1. So now we see all kinds of attributes associated with that first plot and the values associated with those attributes. And we can make changes to any of these attributes by using the set command. So suppose I would like to change this line width from 0.5 to 1.5. I can do this programmatically. I've already showed you how to use these windows, but it's convenient to do this in code as well. So I can say set h1 line width 1.5. And let's say I copy this code and I do the same thing for h2 as well. And I'm going to run this code. Now notice that the line width has now changed to a thicker line width. In principle, any of these attributes listed here can change. I can say give me all attributes, and all of these attributes of the plots can be changed. So now h1 and h2, they point to the specific data series of the red line and blue line. Now I can also make changes to the axis itself. And in MATLAB there's a special graphics handle that points to the axis. and it's called GCA. So if you type this into the command window, this is now the pointer to this graphics object, the axis. And notice this has various attributes and values that relate to the general graph. And I can get more properties over here. Now suppose I would like to make changes to the direction of the y-axis. So suppose I want to flip this axis so that the values don't go from low to high, but from high to low. Use this attribute ydir here, and I can make changes to this attribute by using the following command. I will say set, and set of this graphics object, the current graphics axis, and this is the attribute that I would like to change, and I'm going to set the value to reverse. So I'm going to run this code, and note that the graph has changed. So now we have y values going from the bottom to the top, from high to low. Another useful graphics handle to keep in mind is the graphics handle for the whole figure, not just the particular axis or set of axes if you have multiple panels, but the whole figure itself. And so this is the graphics handle for the whole figure, GCF. So if you typed it in a command window, you see a whole list of the attributes and properties associated with the figure. And you can, for example, make changes to the background color of the figure window. So I can say set GCF, and I can say color, let's say 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. These are RGB values. The red, green, blue values, they are on a scale from 0 to 1 here. And so if I run this code, now notice that the background has changed to a darker gray. For example, if I want to make this white, I can change this to 1, 1, 1. And if I run this, now the background has changed to white.